My name is Iknatius Kurniawan and I'm from English Education's Department, Bhinneka PGRI University. Today, I would like to present my thesis proposal under the title An Analysis of Students' Experience in the Use of Moodle in Writing Class During Pandemic COVID-19. Okay, let's start these presentations. The first, introductions. For the first, we're gonna talk about the background of the research. Basically, the background of the research start from the pandemic COVID-19. COVID-19 has been declared as a global pandemic. It affects many aspects of human life. For example, education, economic, health, and many aspects in human life. As the response of these situations, the government published Government Regulations number 21, 2020. These regulations regulate large-scale social restrictions. What is large-scale social restrictions? Large-scale social restrictions causes the limitations of public transportations, the limitations of travel, public places operations, including school. As the response of these situations, Minister of Education and Culture issued Circular number 4, 2020. This circular aims to maintain the physical and mental health of the students, lecturers, teachers, and many stakeholders in education field. And this circular also regulates the implementations of online learning system. During this pandemic, COVID-19, the face-to-face learning system is impossible to do. Because of that, online learning system is implemented in all education. For the basic education, for example, elementary school, secondary education, for example, junior high school and senior high school, and tertiary educations. Bhinneka PGRI University is one of tertiary educations in Tulungagung which implemented online learning system. This online learning system is implemented in all departments and all classes or courses, including writing course. All the lecturers can use many kinds of LMS to help them to have the online learning system. For example, Moodle, Google Classroom, or Edmodo. In this case, the researchers try to analyze the student experiences in using Moodle in writing class. There are some differences between face-to-face learning system and online learning system. That's why the researchers try to analyze the student experiences in using Moodle in writing class, and their perceptions about the effectiveness of Moodle. For the next, we're gonna talk about the research problem. There are two research problems. The first, what are the experiences of the student using Moodle in writing class during pandemic COVID-19? The second, how does the students' perceptions about the effectiveness of using Moodle in writing class during pandemic COVID-19? Basically, the researchers try to analyze about the student experiences and the students' perceptions about the use of Moodle in writing class. From this research problem, the objective of the research is to know the experiences of the student using Moodle in writing class during pandemic COVID-19. The second, to know the students' perceptions about the effectiveness of using Moodle in the writing class. The next, we're gonna talk about the significance of this study. There are three significance of this study. The first, for the students, the result of the research will give the information about students' experience in using Moodle in writing class and students' perceptions about the effectiveness of Moodle in writing class. The second, for the lecturers, the results of this research will give the information about students' experience in using Moodle and the students' perceptions about the effectiveness of Moodle in the writing class. It can be used as a consideration in choosing Moodle as a platform in the learning process. The last is for the future researcher. The results of this research will be useful for the future researcher who want to conduct the research in the same field. So basically, it can be used for the future researcher to help the research on this field. The next, we're gonna talk about the review and the literature review. The first, we're gonna talk about the writing. Based on Noonan 2003 stated that writing is a mental work of inventing ideas, thinking about how to express them and organizing them into statement and paragraph that will be clear to the reader. Basically, writing involves generating thought, preparing the setting goals and critical thinking to organize this kind of ideas and thoughts and information into a good term of the writing. The second, we're gonna talk about e-learning. E-learning is the use of interactive media for a variety of educational purposes, ranging for its own functions in conventional classroom to complete replacement of face-to-face meeting for virtual meeting. It based on Curie Rosenblit 2005. The use of electronic tools in this online learning system to help the students uh, to join the online learning process. The next, we're gonna talk about learning management system. What is learning management system? Learning management system is an online learning system that helps students maintain administration, tracking, reporting, and distributions of classes, lessons, and assessments. Basically, there are a lot of LMS that can be used by the lecturers and the students. For example, Moodle, Google Classroom, and Edmodo. It can be used by the lecturers and the student for free. In this case, in this research, we're gonna talk about Moodle. Uh, when we talk about Moodle, Moodle is a free open source learning management framework that help you to create strong, scalable, and engaging online learning experience. Moodle or modular object-oriented dynamic learning environment it can be used by the lecturers and the student for free because it open source learning management framework, especially in Bhinneka University. Moodle is integrated with LMS, university's LMS, Learning Management System. It can be used by the lecturer and the student for free. And the last, we're gonna talk about student experience. In this case, the student experience refer to student learning experience. Learning experience of the students refer to any communications, practice, curriculum, or other experience in which learning takes place, whether in standard institutional setting, school classroom, or non-traditional setting, out of school setting, outdoor setting. Basically, it refers to the student learning experience. The next, we're gonna talk about the previous study. The first thesis is written by Miftahul Nikmah 2014 entitled Developing Moodle-based interactive online media to teach narrative reading, a study at 10th grade students of SMA Negeri 13 Semarang in the academic year of 2014 and 2015. Basically, this research found Moodle-based interactive online media is valid and suitable for narrative reading. And the second, Moodle can be applied in teaching narrative reading. There are some differences between this study with my research. The first, this study using R&D, and the focus on this study is narrative reading, the use of Moodle to teach narrative reading. The second study written by Laila Fatimatus Zahroh 2019 entitled Developing Moodle e-learning media to teach descriptive text writing, a study at 10th grade of SMK NU Ma'arif 1 Semarang in academic year of 2018 and 2019. In this research, the researchers found that the significant difference between before and after using Moodle in the classroom. The second, Moodle is valid and can be implemented in descriptive text writing. So the researchers found that it can be used as a media or a platform to teach descriptive text. There are some difference between this research with my research. This research basically using quantitative research, while my study using qualitative research, and the focus on this research is developing media, while my research focus on an analysis of students' experiences and students' perceptions about the use of Moodle in writing class. The next, we're gonna talk about research methodology. The first, the researchers in this research using qualitative research, and for the approach, the researchers using phenomenology approach. Why? The reasons why the researcher using this phenomenology approach, because phenomenology approach focus on analysis about someone phenomena. In this case, the researchers try to analyze the students' experience and the students' perceptions about the using of Moodle in writing class. Basically, the researchers try to analyze the students' experiences. The second, we're gonna talk about research procedure. There are 7 steps of the research procedures. The first is compiling the research design. The second, determining the object of the research. The object of the research is the 3rd semester of English Education Department. The third is requesting permissions to conduct the research. The fourth is providing some questions and interviewing students from the 3rd semester about their experiences using Moodle and their perceptions about the effectiveness of Moodle in writing class. The 5th procedure is collecting the data collected from the students using interview and questionnaire. And the next, transcribing data into a written data, and the last, analyzing and interpreting data that has been given or that has been gained by the researcher. The next, we're gonna talk about the setting of the research. The research takes place in Universitas Bhinneka PGRI. The subject of the research is the 3rd semester of English department at Universitas Bhinneka PGRI in the academic year of 2019 and to 2020. The next we're gonna talk about the research instrument. There are two kinds of research instrument in qualitative research. There are primary and the secondary. For the primary instrument is the researchers themselves or herself, because the researchers doing some interview with the respondent to gain informations, and then interpreting into some analyze, and then report the result of the research. That's why the primary instrument is the researchers themselves. Beside this primary instrument, there are interview recorder, questionnaire sheet and camera. And the next we're gonna talk about the data collecting method. For this research, for the collecting method, the researcher using interview and questionnaire. For the interview, the researchers using semi-structured interview. It means that the researchers have the list of the questions, but have additional questions to gain more information from the respondent. Basically, there are three kinds of interview. The first is structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. And in this research, the researchers using semi-structured questions. And the second is in questionnaire. Based on Creswell 2012, there are three kinds of questions in questionnaire: close-ended, semi-close-ended, and open-ended questions. In this research, the researchers using open-ended questions to get deep and structured informations from the respondent. The next we're gonna talk about the data analysis. Based on ERI 2010, data analysis can be described in three stages as organizing and familiarizing, coding and reducing, and interpreting and representing. The first step is organizing and familiarizing. The researchers should be familiar with the data that has been gained from the respondent. So the researchers should read and listen all the data that has been gained from the respondent. The second, all the data should be transcribed and organized into some kinds of category. These categories is useful in order to be easier in analyzing. The second is coding and reducing. Coding means filter all the data into some kinds of categories. The first, the researchers can be categorized as thought, ideas, actions, pattern, or many kinds of category. The next is data reductions. The data reductions means concentrating on essential data or informations. The researchers can shoot the data based on the topic of the research. So the researchers can concentrate on on information, important informations that has been gained from the respondent. And the last, we're gonna talk about the trustworthiness. Basically, trustworthiness is a validity in qualitative research. According to Sugiono 2010, there are 4 techniques such as credibility, transferability, dependability, and conformability. The first is credibility. Credibility is talk about the authenticity and trustfulness of the result. And the second is transferability. It's concerned as how far the outcome of the study could apply in particular context. The results of the study can be applied in particular context in this field or education field. And the third is dependability. Report and the final has been discussed with has been discussed with the colleague and the expert. So the result of the study uh, can be called as a valid if the result of the study has been discussed with the colleague and the expert to know the validity of this result. The last is conformability. It's referred to the result of the study can be confirmed by the researchers in the same circumstances. It shows the same result with different circumstances or the different situations. It means that the result of the research is valid. Maybe that's all my explanations about my thesis proposal. The last I say thank you very much for your nice attentions and thank you.